like to welcome everybody to our next episode of the Filter That podcast, where obviously, as you know, we talk all things about air filtration and industrial ventilation and dust collection. Today we're going to cover a little bit of a different topic. We're going to cover project management and installation. As many might know, we handle that internally at RoboVent. We're a turnkey supplier, and we provide everything from the equipment and the filters to the system design, facility testing, project management, installation, and preventive maintenance thereafter. And it's honestly, it's part of our secret sauce. It's the process that we have and the team that we have that's here with us today. I've got Ryan McWilliams and Dean Anhorn, who are our projects and installation directors, respectively. But these two guys are a big part of the reason our customers come back to us. It's them and their respective teams. And oftentimes our customers actually interact with the folks on their team more than they interact with, say, our sales team as well, that actually help facilitate the order. So having said all that, let's get everybody introduced so that we can get into project management and installation here. Ryan, are you on the line with us here today?
I am.
Excellent. Welcome. Well, tell everybody listening today who you are, what you do, how long you've been here, and what your responsibility is at RoboVent.
All right. Well, as you stated, my name is Ryan McWilliams. I am the director of project management here at RoboVent. I've been working at RoboVent since 2015, so coming up on 6 years. Brief history: I started as an installation crew, working for Dean Anhorn actually, and kind of over the time here, I've worked my way up through the ranks and to where I'm currently at. So that's kind of a little bit of background about myself. My current responsibilities at RoboVent are to oversee all of the projects, and I have 6, great project managers that work for me to, deal with the daily tasks and interact with our customers to ensure that the projects that we've won are installed and working as they should be.
And they do. Thank you for that. As your coworker, I can genuinely say that you're one of the best professional communicators that I've had the opportunity to work with. And you might be asking, what? What do you mean by that? And what I mean by that is you're a great two-way communicator. I think when you're in a project internally or you're with the customer and you're going back and forth on what the deliverables are, whatever the case might be, you always confirm that you understood what the other person was saying to you or what the group was saying, but you put that into your own words, and then you reiterate that, regurgitate it back to them so they have an understanding that you also understood, and then you both meet the project timeline together. I mean, you even helped me organize the outline for our conversation today, and that's part of project management, I feel, and you really help bring things to life. And although, we don't script things on this show, we certainly set an outline for what we're going to talk about. And, I think that's a case in point, just with the organization on this show, new product launches that we're doing, and also certainly, the successful project management and installation of our customer sites. So, again, thanks for joining us today and getting on this format to talk about what we do a little bit and how that helps our customers and manufacturers all over the country. Dean, are you with us also?
Yes,
I know you're not on the screen. Yeah. Why don't you, same thing, tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been here. And Ryan said he worked for you, so you'll have to talk about that a little bit. And obviously he's done all right for himself.
Yeah, so my name is Dean Anhorn. Official title is the installation director for RoboVent, but that doesn't necessarily entail all of what I do. All of the installers that work directly for RoboVent report directly to me. Currently, there's 9 individuals that report to me, but we are in the process of growing that crew to add more people to that. As far as my roles and responsibilities go, like I mentioned, all the installers report directly to me. So I handle all the scheduling and of all of the installs that RoboVent performs directly, as well as maintain and oversight if we're using contract labor to install any of our systems or products. But I also support all the project managers. I help out with site visits and on-site measuring so that we make sure that I have an understanding of what the project entails for when my guys go out to do the install. I can add assistance and guidance to that. So with me being with the company for 17 years, I've seen a lot of what we actually do, as well as a lot of ways not to do things for systems that have been installed by, other contractors or, other companies. So along with that, I lend assistance to the salesman. When they sell a project, I go with them to help develop the solution, both pre-sale and after sale. And then I will lend assistance to the engineering team so that the information that's gathered during the site visit gets properly drawn up so that we can implement quality product and solution when it hits the floor to the customer's facility.
You said something earlier where you said, my title is installation director, but the function and the role that you play within our customers and across the organization, both you and Ryan, really goes way beyond your official title. Some people might even say you're our customer service director. Same with Ryan too, because you both interact with our customers and their projects much more than other folks across the organization. So I think it's important to note that. And Dean, you're the type of person that maybe this is my perception because I've worked with you now for 5-6 years now, but in my experience, I've always seen you go out of your way to take things upon yourself, make other people's problems your own, and really make sure that you're you try to inconvenience yourself first before you'd ever inconvenience somebody else or try to disrupt anybody else's process. And you say things like it is. And I think that in general in life and business, and certainly in the manufacturing community, I think that's a great quality for somebody to have. And so, the fact that we've got you on staff, you've been with us as long as you have, so you've seen it all. I think that's what people think about when they think about customer service, and it's a general experience that they have with an organization, and you two and your respective teams really help deliver that. So, we talked a little bit before the call here, so thanks again for joining us. Ryan, I'll kick this really off with you. I mean, what do you think the most important aspects are of a quality project management process or installation process? I mean, if you had to name a top 3, could you? And if you can, we might spitball off of that and talk about those topics a little bit more in detail here.
Yeah, I can definitely, dive into that. So, I mean, there is, I would say, a top 3, and the top one being, from a project management perspective, is communication. Without communication, everything else kind of can fall apart if that communication is not being handled properly and, efficiently between the project manager and the customer contact. So communication is definitely key. They got to know when things are happening, what they need to expect. And if they don't know those items and they're left in the unknown, then that can cause a lot of frustration on their side. Secondly, would be safety. Now, safety is always top priority when we're on the job doing the installation, but it's second here because communication is key to getting a project installed and having a customer that's satisfied and understands what they're getting.
Well, And you need to communicate what your safety processes are, right? I mean, you got to communicate that as part of the process to make a successful install and project delivered. So, you know, it just when it's on site and there could be harm done, then yeah, it's obviously got to be that top priority. Sorry, you keep going though.
Yeah, I mean, that's correct. I mean, you also got to communicate what your safety goals are to your internal team, right? Because if your team members, your installers, your contractors that we work with, if they don't understand the emphasis we put on safety, then you're not going to get that product out in the field. So the communication piece is key to kind of keeping the project moving and ensuring things are happening as they should. I'd say that the third item would be quality. So we got to install a system that meets the quality that we expect as project managers. And again, it goes back to communication, setting the standard with our own internal install team that we have that Dean manages, as well as the subcontractors that we use across, the United States, Mexico, and Canada. With how many installations and projects we do each year, we cannot, function with the internal team that we have. We have a great group of installers, but with just the quantity of installs that we have across the year, we need those subcontractors that we use in the other areas of the country or outside the country in Mexico and Canada. So again, just to reiterate, communication is top, and the other two kind of fall in line with that in my perspective.
Dean, what are your thoughts there? Kick things over to you. I mean, do you have a similar outlook on the top three biggest areas of concern or what you need to be mindful of in a successful project and installation?
Yeah, Ryan outlined it pretty good for what and I absolutely agree with what he just said. Communication is a very key point. That falls in line with, the communication with my guys installing a project. They maintain a good line of communication with the project manager, but they also maintain a line of communication for every project that they're working on with me. In order to properly maintain a valid schedule and to keep everybody satisfied and everybody moving in the right direction, we need to make sure that we stay on top of, the status of the project with it as it happens throughout the course of the install. And, we have our own internal checklists that fall into play. There's actually, a daily checklist that the guys fill out and maintain. That's kept track of through the life of the project. Obviously, safety does fall into play with that. All of our guys are all OSHA 10 certified. So along with they maintain, valid operator's license for all the equipment that we would operate on site during an install. Those are the key points that follow along with making a successful install.
So, if communication is really key to this whole process, what does that look like? I mean, what can you guys give some examples maybe of what good communication sounds like, looks like, what maybe poor communication looks like and sounds like, and generally what should people expect from our process?
Yeah, I can kick that question off. So, we have a couple of tools that we use. Obviously, you have meetings and emails that you can use to communicate, but we also provide, or the project manager at the start of the project works with the customer and, to the timing that they are looking for, and creates a timeline. We use a tool called Smartsheet for that. That creates a nice Gantt chart for the customer to look at, and updates are made to that timeline and then disseminated back out to the customer as changes happen throughout the life of the project. That gives them a good overview, from start to finish, how long is this project going to take, where are the key events. It kind of spells out, key milestones that need to take place in order for the project to be successfully installed. So with that tool, that's providing them that footprint early on of how long are we going to be working together, and they have, key deliverables that they can refer back to and ensure we're meeting those. So I'd say good communication is making sure from the beginning they understand what's going on and when things are happening and what items need to happen in order for the install to start on time. Because we have key milestones that need to happen prior, and there's a lot of communication that needs to be gathered. Some of that is a requirement from the customer to provide to our team in order for us to accurately design our system and provide drawings to the customer that they can, keep for future use. So if they want to make modifications, they have something to kind of go off of. I was just going to say, for poor communication, I mean, to me, is obviously not letting someone know what's happening, not replying back. I mean, we got to be in touch with our customers. So the goal is always to set up a sort of formal communication with that customer on their timeline. So whether that be, it's going to be dictated by the scope of the project, but having a set, formal call with them, whether it be weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, and that's all dependent on the scope of the project and what is going on. But poor communication is where you have a customer that purchased something from us, and then we're not communicating, not letting them know what's going on until they have maybe a truck showing up at their door with our equipment, and they didn't even know it was supposed to arrive that day. That would be an example of, very poor communication that's going to, not give us a satisfied customer, because they're all of a sudden having to change their plans for the day because obviously they have more going on than just dealing with the RoboVent installation. So you got to take into account their daily job and their daily responsibilities that they have in trying to make their life as easy as possible. Or this is what I need from you, Mr. Customer. This is when I'm going to be here, and this is when I'm going to leave. And just giving them the information they need up front so they're not having to search for it is the goal of a good communicator.
Yeah, I would say maybe you take often a more of a proactive approach with communication, because, I mean, there's got to be instances when, something out of our control, circumstances, something happened where maybe an expectation wasn't met or something had to get delayed, whatever the case might be. How do we handle situations like that with our customers? I mean, it happens to everybody, not just us. I mean, we're right all the time, but there's certainly instances where something doesn't go as planned and we have to make it right and still hit a deadline. But maybe there's a hurdle that has to be passed. I mean, it's different in every circumstance. So how do we handle that with a customer? Maybe Dean, you can handle that since you're on the front lines often.
Well, that falls back in line with proper communication between the installers or the contractors that are on site and the project manager or myself. If something's missing, the quicker we know about it or the project manager knows about it, the quicker the situation can get corrected as far as, getting additional parts out there while the installers are currently still on site so that we can still complete the project in the given time frame that's allotted for the install and not have to make a second trip back and delay that project. With our current workload that we maintain, we float anywhere from 140 to 160 active projects at any given time within RoboVent. Now, not all of those projects involve install, but they are still active projects, and they all do occupy space in the timeline for both our deliverables as well as the installation requirements that we have on our projects. Communication is key, and it doesn't just fall in line with something that's missing on a project. If something didn't ship, it also, the quicker we know about a situation, the better off it is. Case in point, we got a call today from our installers that are currently working on a project that the customer is not allowing them to actively work in a given area that they were supposed to give us access to. So those delays could potentially result in us not being able to complete the job. So phone calls were made earlier to get the customer on board, make sure that they understood that they have to rearrange their production schedule in order to give us the allotted time that they told us that we were going to have, so that we can still complete this project, by tomorrow, and have their system done, completed, up and running. And we can, that gives us the ability to move on to the next project.
Everybody on both sides of that equation was fully aware of what was going on. So it sounds like everybody was in lockstep, and it sounds like you got the approvals that you were seeking to move forward with everything. Is that correct?
That's correct.
See, that's fantastic. Earlier, Ryan, when we were talking about, the top most important things as it relates to driving a successful project and install, you guys both mentioned safety. And I think quality was the other piece as well. So how does good communication help support, a safe project install? And either of you guys can start with that. I mean, it seems like that's a guiding principle, so I think it's worth, giving some time to discuss here.
Yeah, so, I mean, safety starts with the communication. Well, it kind of starts with the training that we have to do, prior to going on site. I mean, Dean alluded to that earlier with his conversation about how we are all OSHA 10 certified. That's the project managers and the installation crews. They're also, the project managers and the installers have their certifications for, how to properly drive a forklift and aerial lift, so that when we're operating that equipment on the customer site, we don't have anyone get injured. To further that, we also have a process in place that at the start of every project, the project manager, has a brief meeting and kind of has a checklist of, high or items that he needs to touch base with that installation crew, to keep in mind safety at the forefront of their minds. Because obviously our crews and our subcontractors, they know how to work safe. They know the right thing to do, but it's keeping that information in front of their mind before they start. So kind of going through potential risk with that project, because each project is unique in its own way. So you want to just kind of highlight what, potential risks there are, or the most obvious risk for that project, so that, we don't have someone be injured while we're trying to do an installation. We always ensure, to stress to our teams that working fast to try and meet a deadline is not the proper way to install it. Yes, the end goal is to always meet the customer's deadline, but it's not worth getting hurt or having someone, not go home to their family at the end of the day. So we have to work safe. And we're never going to push an installation crew past that point where they're not working safe. So safety has to be a team effort, because the project manager, the way we run our crews, we don't have a project manager on site the whole time. So Dean's, lead installer takes that kind of on as the on-site lead after the project manager leaves the site for the duration of the install. They're the safety eyes and ears of our team. So it's not just one person, it's a collective group, knowing that we have to work safe, and we want to work safe because we don't want anyone to get hurt while we're doing our installs.
Yeah, Ryan called it out there, Dean. I mean, share your perspective. If you and your crew have to eventually just take that responsibility over because you're the main liaison and point of contact doing the final install, how does the buck get passed, and how does it get passed, and what are the reviews and protocols that you guys are following within your teams to ensure safety is a top priority?
Well, Ryan did a good job explaining that, and like he mentioned, our lead installers are our eyes and ears, back at the office. They're the ones that are currently on site. They're the ones that are maintaining active communication with the company, with the customer, and communicating that back to us, so that we get a overall view of how the installation is actually progressing. there will be times where, equipment is supposed to be provided by the customer, but the equipment that they provide may or may not be adequate for us to properly do our job and do the install in a safe manner. Typically, we run into the customer may have a fork truck on site that they'll let us use, but it may or may not be adequate to properly handle the equipment or the needs that we would put on that piece of equipment. So there's a lot of communication that goes in on, once a project is actually kicked off and on site. Granted, we try to eliminate as much of that on the upfront side as possible, which the project managers do a pretty good job with communicating with the customer with, if those situations do arise. And if we feel that we can't utilize customer equipment, then we'll rent our own so that we can still do the job safely and, get the project done. Now, there's other things that do fall in place with this as well. I don't know if Ryan covered this in what he outlined with the project managers, but, every one of our customers usually has some form of contractor safety requirements or training videos or stuff like that they require prior to allowing personnel to come on site. And that's one of the tasks that the project managers, follow up on when they do their initial kickoffs with the customer, is finding out what those actual requirements are. Certain customers require additional drug screening. So we send our people in, they get drug screened. We've got a job that we're doing next week that I had to send 8 people in to get a 10-panel drug screen. So all of this stuff all has bearing, but at the end of the day, it all lends to being able to properly put our people in an environment where they can work safe and get the job done safely.
Hearing you both talk about this in a lot more detail, I really understand now how these three things really all blend together to drive a successful installation and really, a successful system that's really going to work very well and to get the job done safely, right, and working well. So maybe it goes without saying, but does the positive communication or the effective communication and the mindfulness of safety, is that what drives the quality, or is that also part of the our people and our training and our process that we're delivering on site? I mean, let's sort of shift gears and talk about what that quality is that you were talking about earlier, Ryan. If you want to, I don't know if Dean wants to take this one, or Ryan, you want to start it off, but the same things. I'm really interested on learning how you guys define quality, how do we achieve it, how we, what's different at RoboVent, if you want to touch on that too. But how do we ensure that quality is at the forefront?
Quality to me, it starts with how we approach the project, and we go on site. Typically, for the majority of our projects, we go on site. Dean, the project manager, the salesman normally all go. And what they're going to do is, look at the location that we're going to do the installation and gather information that we need for our engineering team back at the office to then put into a drawing and kind of truly show what we're going to do on the ground once, we move forward. So it starts there, the quality of the design, right? So I think that kind of one area that sets us apart from other dust collection companies is we have a, in-house engineering team that puts together the drawings and follows the ACGH guidelines to ensure that we're running at the correct velocity for whatever operation or system that we're doing. It's obviously it changes customer to customer, but it starts there. We have a good designed print to go off of for the install, and then the second part, I guess, of quality would be what we're ordering. So, we have a good relationship with a lot of quality vendors. We're going to purchase material that is correctly made and to the correct standards for like SmackDown to ensure that we don't have ductwork that, it collapses or isn't sealed correctly. We have trained our internal crews as well as some of our subcontractors. We've done training with them as well on how to properly seal, how to band stone in the field when you have to make cuts, with a band stone pipe where you can't have water get inside. If you don't know how to properly, band stone it, you'll have water leaks in your system, which you do not want water getting in because that can, wreck or damage your filters. So that's kind of the second part. And then the third part is the actual install. So it's the quality of the installers that we have, the attention to detail. Dean does a great job of pushing that with them, and he has, site leads that care about the quality just as much as everyone else in our company. It boils down to all of it can fall apart, I guess, if you don't have people that care and that people that, want to do a job that when they leave, they can be put their, stand behind, I guess. It's not something that you want to just brush in the corner. You're happy to stand behind that product and say, yes, I installed that, because it was done right. And if you don't have people that care, then, you can have all these processes in place and it's not going to end up with a quality install. But we have people that do care, and we have contractors that we make sure, have those same values. I mean, you're going to have to follow up, and that's why we have project managers and we have site leads to work with contractors. But the contractors that we continue to do business with have shown that they also have that same commitment to quality that we expect. And by kind of those 3-4 things, that's how we get a quality install that sets our product, apart from our competition.
It does start with people and process, Might have been one of those Ohio State coaches that said, you win with people, but we're not supposed to talk about Ohio State since everybody's from Michigan. Well, that'll make it to the podcast. Dean, I know Ryan is getting the floor and he gets the first to answer some of these questions here that I'm putting out there, but you wanna add your 2 cents here to what drives that quality?
Well, we hold our quality is definitely a key point of everything that we do within the company. We try our best to provide a good quality product from the manufacturing side, as far as our equipment itself goes. But like Ryan mentioned, we put a lot of emphasis on the quality of the actual install of the system as well. You were involved with Frank, you were involved with a project that was done and installed right there in Columbus, Ohio. And upon a secondary visit after the installation was complete, I was not satisfied with the solution for how it actually got installed by a contractor that was hired to do it. And we ordered the material. I told the customer that there were some changes that we needed to make. We ordered the material. We sent our people back in. We completely rerouted the ductwork and, reprioritized the collection points in the system, so that at the end of the day, it was a good quality system to the it was completed to the expectations that we had expected it to be done in the first place. So we assumed that, cost out of pocket. There was nothing passed on to the customer, because that's the way the job should have been done the first time. And as a result of it, we ended up with another order. So when you guarantee a solution and a system like RoboVent does, then that's start to finish. It's not just the quality of the equipment, it's the quality of the system that's designed, and we need to make sure that it's done properly. Or else, in my opinion, it's not a quality solution.
It really sets us apart talking about our performance guarantees, and under the right circumstances when we present those, and they're mutually agreed upon, but we've got great warranties, of course. And all those things are made possible and delivered successfully because of the people that are behind the processes that have been built. like the two of you. And we've got great folks across other parts of the organization too. Oftentimes you hear a lot of organizations that are in our sort of competitive set and our niche they don't necessarily have project managers or install crews in house. In fact, they might have what they call like a sales engineer that sort of plays all those roles. How are we doing that a little bit differently? How do we treat those roles differently? What do people typically experience with other organizations, and how do you think that ultimately benefits the customer that's getting these type of systems installed?
Well, I'll touch on this real quick. You briefly mentioned, how other companies possibly do, look at their project, from a, 100-mile view. And within RoboVent, the way that our personnel and our tasks are structured, there's overlapping checks and means, which more or less allows project managers to properly work on and maintain, adequate coverage and representation over multiple projects. So some of the lesser tasks are passed on to other people within the organization to take care of those tasks and help support the project manager. But yet everything is not directed or dumped on one person. There's multiple people that hold everybody within the organization accountable. So Ryan, he oversees all his project managers, so they all have to report to him, and he keeps them all in check with where they are as far as their budgets go, where they are as far as their timelines go, and making sure that everything is followed up, with the customer the way that it needs to be. He interacts with shipping along with the project managers, as well as, where the product stands in the production process. So all of that is done on the backside prior to anything being done and shipped to the customer. And with the way that we overlap, it gives us a wide range as well as multiple eyes throughout the lifespan of the project within RoboVent.
And that doesn't necessarily end there. And then, as things get installed, maybe our service team gets involved and the customer service team gets involved. So there's a lot of different touch points across the organization. Ryan, from your perspective, I know you don't have the same longevity as Dean's got, being in the industry a few years less. But what's your perspective in terms of how different organizations approach that general function?
Yeah, to me, I think some of it kind of goes to having like a centralized engineering team. So we have consistency across the board, where in other organizations it might be on that individual team to kind of make the call on what they're going to do, can lead to some inconsistencies across there. With us, we do have salesmen, obviously, but they come back and they have a central engineering group to help them with the design and to guide them so that we have consistency across the board. And that's the same with the project managers. We're using the same internal central engineering department for each of the project managers that are spread across the country. They're not all together at the headquarters. We have 3 out of the headquarters office, but then we have 3 project managers that are spread out across the United States and Canada based on key locations. But still, they all bring their information back to one group that's, managed by our engineering manager. So that all the engineers are again reporting to her, and we have consistency then with our with our systems that we're putting out. So I think that's kind of a big key point for us that we have that helps keep things moving smoothly.
Do you think that because we have that general overlapping, checks and balances, whatever it is, where you have so many different eyes on different projects, is that why people generally think we have better customer service, because there's so many points of contact and people that can support and help them across the organization that are actually familiar with their individual needs? I mean, you got to handle calls from the customer on a pretty regular basis, and maybe even once a project is completed, you guys are still fielding calls as well from customers, whether it's to order something or to make a revision, or maybe something didn't go as smoothly as it could have, and you've got to rectify that and make it really right and go the extra mile. So how does your role impact the general experience in customer service?
Well, I think how you wow a customer with customer service is really just making them feel like they're your only customer, right? Like they're important. And that's what we do. I mean, every customer is important. And so when they make a call in, you drop what you're doing and you switch gears to address an issue that they have and answer that as quickly as possible. And then communicating back. So if it's a request that's going to take some time, you don't just sit on it until you have the information you need and then push it out to them. You communicate back to them quickly and say, hey, this is going to take me a few more days, or it's going to take me a couple hours to get to. I'll get back to you on this date or this time with the answers or the solution to your issue that you called in on. So just having that, I mean, from our customer's point of view, I mean, anytime they're calling into us, that's a customer service, interaction, whether that actually is our customer service team that we have, taking calls, or if it's a project manager or a salesman. I mean, it's their experience with RoboVent. So you just got to make them understand that they are important. We take our customers very seriously, and we want to ensure that their systems are always running, and working properly so that their operators are being protected and they are not having to breathe in any, unnecessary particulate.
Yeah, oftentimes, when I've surveyed our customers and done individual interviews and we talk about customer service and their experience, they're not just talking about the actual customer service team that's doing a lot of the call intake. They're talking about the total experience they had across from the experience they had with the solution specialist in their region, for the project manager, install team, and everybody doing service thereafter. So I appreciate that. Dean, if you're still with us, my friend, you care to comment on, why what kind of impact you have on the general customer experience and that service mentality as well?
Well, as far as the customer service goes, everybody that's involved with a project is customer service, regardless of whether or not that's their role or not. We all provide some level of customer service to the customer. There's customers I've been dealing with for a long time that I think they've got my number on speed dial, because instead of actually calling their customer service line, they have no problem calling me, and that's absolutely fine. I mean, I have my cell phone with me all the time, so when they call, I answer. And I mean, it could be anything with, hey, I've got a project coming up in the next couple of weeks. Are you going to be out this way? You think you could, swing by and take a look at something? And, when the customer develops a level of comfort with you, then you go out of your way to, provide a service to them and try to meet their needs, whether it's your responsibility within the company or not.
You're absolutely right, and that's a great mentality to have. And, I hope that everybody that's gone through, and if you've made it to the end of this actual podcast and the whole conversation interview we've had with our team, you've learned a little bit about that secret sauce I was talking about. There's a reason why, we're perceived by many to sort of be that high touch, high quality, really impactful group in this industry. And, your teams are a big part of the reason we're able to do that and really serve our customers in a great way. So I can't thank you both enough. Ryan, come back and join us here for a second here. I really appreciate you both making the time to have this conversation. I think it's important to, really give our customers an opportunity to get a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, and be part of those, more intimate internal conversations we have where we're talking shop and just talking about how we do things, because it's sincere, it's honest, and it's how we help our customers succeed. So, guys, that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us today.